Hello friends, today we are going to learn about the fallacy of oversimplification. Friends, we all want simple life, simple solution of the complex problems of life. The more complex is the solution, the more difficult it is to implement. So it is natural that we want simple solutions which can take care of all our problems. While it is always important and also welcome that we must try to have a simple solution, but sometimes it creates fallacy because instead of solving the problem, sometimes it may even complicate the problem. So, to understand this fallacy, let us first understand the importance of simplicity. This is called Occam's razor or the principle of parsimony. So, what is Occam's razor? Now, this Occam's razor says it is basically a problem solving principle which recommends that we must try to have simple explanation for any problem. And as far as the solution is concerned, it should have the smallest possible sets of elements, the smallest possible number of assumptions. So it says that whenever there are two hypotheses which are covering the fact, then we must use the simpler of the two. That means the simple hypothesis is always preferred over the complicated or where we have more than one assumptions. So what is the meaning of this razor in Occam's razor? So razor basically means the idea of shaving away. Just like using the razor we shave our hairs, here what we are doing is that we are shaving away unnecessary assumptions when we are distinguishing between different theories. So the more assumptions we can shave away, the better principle it is. And this principle is also sometimes called the principle of parsimony or the law of parsimony. That means we should always prefer a simple solution over the complex solution. So what is the importance of simplicity? We must understand that simplicity is very powerful as far as the solutions are concerned. Because simple things are very easy to learn and use. In physics and maths, we often use formulas because they are very simple. And using those formulas, we solve the complex problems. In the same way, in our life also, we want simple techniques, quick fix solutions which can solve our problems. So such type of simple solutions or formulas can often help solve our problems, but sometimes they fail to solve the problems because the issue is more complex and these formulas oversimplify the problem. And this is how this fallacy of oversimplification comes into picture. So let us remember that too much of simplicity may lead to error. And Albert Einstein warned us by his famous statement that everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. Because beyond a point, if you make the thing simple, it loses its power because it leads to error. When a person shaves away the complexity by taking away some of the assumptions for the sake of providing a simple explanation, it also shapes away part of the truth also, and which basically leads to error because of the fallacy of oversimplification. So the point which we must remember that yes, we must go for simplicity, but not beyond a point, because if you go beyond a point, it will create error, it will not provide us the solution. So friends, why oversimplification leads to fallacy? Let's understand the difference between valid and invalid argument. Friends, in argument, the conclusion cannot be more reliable than the premises which has been used to draw that conclusion. So if the premises are false, the conclusion cannot be right. And the second important thing is how good the logic is, which is connecting the different premises. So good argument must satisfy both the truth condition, that means the premises must be true, and also the logic condition, because the logic must also be correct. And if the premises are false, even though the logic may be correct, but the conclusion will be false. Let us take an example where the truth condition is not satisfied, logic is correct. For example, if we say all humans are machines and John is a human, and on the basis of that, we draw the conclusion that John is a machine. Now, in this case, what happens? That the logic is correct, but the premises are wrong because all humans are not machine. And therefore, despite having the right logic, the conclusion is false. The second type of error we commit is when the premises are correct, but the logic is wrong. That means logic condition not satisfied. For example, all men are mammals. Dog is a mammal. And therefore, all men are dogs. Now, again, a wrong conclusion. But here we can see both premises are correct because all men are mammals, and also that all dogs are also mammal. But the logic here is wrong. So what happens in the oversimplification fallacy? That we are having false premises, or the premises which are believed to be true, but actually they are not true. And that basically leads to error in our logic. So here what happens, that the speaker very smartly does not claim that the premises are to be true. Because if you want the premises to be true, you have to give facts and data, evidences. So he does not provide that. Instead, he uses the premises which are perceived to be true or which are very popular, though they are actually not so. For example, he may use a proverb like honesty is the best policy. And people believe because this is popular, but that is not true. Honesty is not always the best policy. Similarly, he can use a quote like an eye for eye will make whole the world blind of Gandhi's quote, which means that we should not engage into violence and retaliation. And this he will try to convince you by using this particular quotation, which is not always true. Similarly, sometimes the analogies and metaphors are used, and then the conclusion is drawn, while the analogy and metaphor may not be correct all the time or in the particular context. For example, analogy which is very popular is that a good relationship is like a bridge. Build it strong and maintain it regularly. So this appears to be absolutely correct, but not absolutely correct, because it has its flaws, and the relationships and bridge are two different things. Analogy may be correct to some extent, but not always correct. In the same way, some ideals like communism, capitalism, or religion, they all are believed by their followers to be absolutely true, but actually it is not true. So friends, what happens in the case of oversimplification fallacy is that we use some sort of popular myth or truth which are believed by most of the people to be true, and we make that as a basis, and on the basis of that, on using that as a premise, we draw the conclusion which is not correct. But people accept that argument because they have full faith on the premises, and that is why it appears to be correct to them. So let us understand one thing very clearly, that the popularity of an idea is not a sufficient reason to accept an idea as true. Just because an idea is popular doesn't mean it has to be true. For example, Earth was considered to be flat and at the center of the universe only a couple of centuries ago, but today we know that is not the truth. So just because it was believed by most of the people, it may not be true. So popularity of the idea basically depends on the emotional impact on the people. If people feel happy about something, it gives them pleasure, they accept the idea, and if it is painful, that is rejected. But as a critical thinker, we are after the truth, we are always seeking the truth. And the reality is that truth is bitter and it is rarely popular. On the other side, whatever is popular is rarely the truth. And St. Augustine has very famously said, right is right even if no one is doing it, and wrong is wrong even if everybody is doing it. So the job of the critical thinker is to find out the truth, and therefore he is not swayed by the popular opinion. For example, if A politician is accused of corruption, even, red-handed caught taking bribe. But if he fights an election, suppose, and he wins by landslide margin, it does not mean that the politician is not corrupt, just because popular opinion is in favor of the politician. And therefore, remember that as a critical thinker, we must search the truth and ignore the popular perception. And therefore, if somebody tries to convince you on the basis of the quotes and analogies and proverb, we should not be convinced about that. We must always find out the truth by facts, evidence, and all that. So friends, today we learned about the fallacy of oversimplification. And this is something which is very popularly used. We should be aware of that. And we should actually not be swayed by such type of fallacies. Thank you very much.